Welcome to the Soccer Tavern, where we're discussing the history, culture, and philosophy of the beautiful game. My name is Dave, and in this series of videos, we're discussing the history of soccer clubs around the world. In this video, we're talking about Chelsea Football Club. Pull up a seat and let's start the discussion. Chelsea FC is located in the southwest central part of the city of London. Funny enough, the club's home ground is actually in the Fulham neighborhood, not the Chelsea neighborhood. London is located in the southern central part of England in the United Kingdom. Chelsea currently play in the Premier League. The club's home ground is called Stamford Bridge, which was built in 1905 and holds 41,623 people. Chelsea FC's founding story begins in 1904 when Gus Mears bought the London Athletics Club and some surrounding property. His goal was to build a soccer stadium and lease it to an already established local club. Mears began building Stamford Bridge and invited Fulham FC to move into the stadium, but Fulham declined. Mears considered then selling the property, but was persuaded to start his own soccer club by Frederick Parker. Mears was an amateur soccer player in his youth and absolutely loved the game, so he took to this idea. On March 10, 1905, at the Rising Sun pub, Mears, along with a handful of other founding directors, started Chelsea FC as a way to utilize Stamford Bridge. The club still needed to find a league to play in, and on the back of their new state-of-the-art stadium, plus strong player signings, they were admitted to the Football League's Division II. Chelsea were the first and so far only club to have ever been admitted to the Football League without ever having kicked a ball first. Chelsea have two nicknames that I'd like to discuss: the Pensioners, which is their old nickname, and the Blues, which is their current nickname. Chelsea were called the Pensioners until the mid-1950s because their home stadium is in close proximity to the famous Royal Hospital Chelsea. The hospital houses British war veterans who are known as pensioners. The club adopted the crest of the Pensioners in 1905, which we'll show in our next segment, and carried the nickname of the Pensioners until Ted Drake became manager in the 1950s. Drake was strongly against the nickname due to his belief that it made the club seem old. So since Chelsea played in blue kits, fans began calling them the Blues, which has been the club's nickname ever since the 1950s. As we just discussed, Chelsea's original crest was that of a pensioner. It looked like an old war veteran with a hat, beard, and war medals on his chest. This was used from the club's founding until 1952 when Ted Drake insisted on a change. A simplified temporary crest with just the letter CFC intertwined was used for one season before the club debuted a new crest in 1953. In the new crest, a blue lion holding a golden staff was in the middle of a circle. The lion was a reference to the family coat of arms for the club's first president, Earl Cadogan. The golden staff, or crozier, is a reference to the Abbot of Westminster, who is the leader of the church in Westminster Abbey, the famous nearby church in London. Around the outside of the circle were 3 roses and 2 soccer balls. The roses were a reference to England, and the 2 soccer balls were obviously a reference to Chelsea playing the sport of soccer. Chelsea Football Club is written at the bottom of the crest. This crest was changed in the 80s due to some trademark complications before the current crest was implemented in the 2004-2005 season to celebrate the club's 100-year anniversary. The club went back to the crest created in 1953 with a couple minor tweaks, including making the lion and crozier blue and dropping one of the roses to create symmetry in the crest. The crest used today is more or less the same crest first debuted in the 1950s, but it is able to be trademarked. A historic club like Chelsea has many important events in their history, but I'd like to discuss 4 of them in this section. On April 23, 1955, Chelsea FC beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-0 to secure their first ever First Division title. The title was a bit of a shock as most people expected Chelsea to finish in the bottom half of the table that season. But Ted Drake was able to lead the club to claim their first ever top flight championship in their 50th year of existence. The next event happened about 3 decades later. On April 2, 1982, Chelsea was sold from the founding Mears family to a businessman named Ken Bates for £1. The club had been underperforming on the pitch for years and were about £1.5 million in debt. They were in danger of going bankrupt until Bates came to the rescue. Bates wasn't exactly loved by all Chelsea fans throughout his ownership of the club, but he did steer the club back to stability and built a competitive squad over his 20 years of ownership. Then, Roman Abramovich entered the picture, which brings us to the next moment I'd like to discuss in this section. Roman Abramovich officially bought the club from Ken Bates on July 1st, 2003 for £140 million. That was a record sale for an English club at the time. With Abramovich's ownership came a huge influx of money and a changing of the way the Premier League and its clubs did business. Abramovich has attracted some of the best players and managers to Chelsea, which has seen them rise to become one of the most successful clubs in English soccer history. Abramovich's culminating achievement is the last important event I'd like to cover in this section. On May 19, 2012, Chelsea beat Bayern Munich on penalties in the Champions League final at Bayern's home stadium of the Allianz Arena. Bayern took a lead late in the match, but Chelsea was able to level in the 85th minute through club legend Didier Drogba. The match ended 1-1, with Chelsea winning 4-3 on penalties after 7 rounds of shooting. It was a wonderful redemption for the club, who had lost painfully on penalties in the 2008 Champions League final to Manchester United. Chelsea remains the first and only London-based club to have won the Champions League or UEFA European Cup. Chelsea supporters don't have any special nicknames or anything like that, but the most passionate fans at Stamford Bridge are usually located in the Shed End and Matthew Harding stand behind each goal at Stamford Bridge. Also, fans who are overseas or in other areas will generally adopt their city's name plus the name of the Blues for an official supporters club. Chelsea have had many great players in their history. 2 modern legends I'd like to highlight here are Frank Lampard and John Terry. Lampard is the club's all-time record goal scorer as a midfielder and was a model professional in every way during his long career with Chelsea. John Terry, on the other hand, was notable for both on-field and off-field exploits, of which there were many of both. He was club captain for many years and nearly spent his entire professional playing career with the club. Peter Osgood, Jimmy Greaves, Ruud Gullit, Petr Cech, Didier Drogba, Eden Hazard, and many others are worth mentioning here as well, but for the sake of time, we need to keep this thing moving. Chelsea have had a slew of great managers in their history. I've already mentioned Ted Drake, who managed from 1952 until 1961. In addition to changing the club's nickname, Drake managed Chelsea to their first ever First Division title and changed the club's philosophy with regards to training as well as scouting lower leagues for unidentified talent. Jose Mourinho is the other manager I'd like to highlight here. He managed at Chelsea in 2 separate stints from 2004 to 2007 and from 2013 until 2015. His self-appointed nickname of the Special One is known to most of the soccer world at this point. He lived up to that nickname almost immediately and won a Premier League title in his first season with Chelsea with a record 95 points. In both his stints combined, he won 3 Premier League titles, 2 League Cups, and an FA Cup. He also won league and European titles at other clubs and is one of the most decorated managers in Chelsea history. I also wanted to briefly mention Carlo Ancelotti and Antonio Conte as 2 of the most respected and well-known recent managers who have done well at Chelsea and elsewhere. Chelsea have many rivals. Fulham and Queen's Park Rangers are Chelsea's historic and closest geographical rivals. But those rivalries have faded a bit in recent times with Chelsea's rise to the top of English soccer and those 2 clubs' struggles. So instead, I want to focus on Chelsea's 3 main Premier League rivals in this section: Arsenal, Tottenham, and Manchester United. Like we discussed in our Arsenal video, the rivalry between Chelsea and Arsenal has really heated up in the last 3 decades. There were consequential and fiery matches prior to the 1990s, but the rivalry really started gaining traction during this time period. Chelsea gave Arsenal their only loss in the 1990-1991 season, and there were a handful of other intense matches in the 90s. When Roman Abramovich became owner of Chelsea in the early 2000s, things were taken to another level. Chelsea became immediate title contenders overnight, and with the competition between both clubs for trophies and players over the last 2 decades, the rivalry has grown into something more tangible. The rivalry was also stoked by Jose Mourinho and Arsene Wenger's managerial feuds both in the media and on the touchline. Chelsea's Tottenham rivalry can be traced back to the 1967 FA Cup final, which was the first to be contested by 2 clubs from London. Spurs won the match 2-1 with two former Chelsea players, which helped ignite animosity between the clubs. In the 1974-75 season, the two clubs were battling to avoid relegation from the First Division and met in a late season match. Spurs won that match 2-0 and effectively relegated Chelsea that season. Chelsea turned the rivalry around in the 1990s and didn't lose a match for 16 years, from 1990 until 2006. Since then, both clubs have built themselves into trophy contenders annually, and matches between the clubs are always physical battles. None more so than in 2016 with the match dubbed the Battle at the Bridge. Tottenham was chasing Leicester City in the Premier League title race and needed to win at Stamford Bridge to keep their title hopes alive. In an incredibly physical match that ended 2-2 and should have seen multiple players sent off but inexplicably weren't, Chelsea ended Tottenham's championship hopes that season. Lastly, Manchester United is considered a Chelsea rival due to Manchester United's role as the most decorated English club, at least as far as domestic titles and brand value is concerned. Under Roman Abramovich's ownership, anything less than championships are unacceptable for Chelsea, which means these two clubs are constantly competing for players and in the table. The rivalry has been helped by larger-than-life managers in Sir Alex Ferguson and Jose Mourinho as well. Nowadays, Jose Mourinho has switched to the Manchester side of things and is trading words in the press with current Chelsea manager Antonio Conte. The rivalry doesn't feel quite as heated as the rivalry with the two other London clubs, but Manchester United can still be considered a Chelsea rival. The stats and records we're about to discuss are as of February 2018, which is when we are recording this video. Chelsea have spent 83 seasons in the top flight in their history. The club has 22 major trophies, including 7 FA Cups, 6 First Division or Premier League titles, 5 League Cups, 2 UEFA Cup Winners' Cups, 1 Champions League, and 1 Europa League. The club's record first-team appearance holder is Ron Chopper Harris with 795 appearances. The club's record goal scorer is Frank Lampard with 211 goals. Petr Cech holds the club's all-time clean sheet record with 227 clean sheets in starts, and he was involved in 1 more clean sheet. The club's record transfer purchase was Alvaro Morata from Real Madrid on July 21, 2017 for about £58 million initially, plus an additional £12 million in add-ons. And Chelsea's record transfer sale was Diego Costa to Atletico Madrid on January 1, 2018 for about £57 million. And one last interesting fact about Chelsea FC, the club currently holds the English First Division record for highest ever points in a season with 95 points, and also the fewest league goals conceded during a season, which was 15 goals. Both of those occurred in the 2004-2005 season under the management of Jose Mourinho. So, there you have it, a bit of history on Chelsea Football Club. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section below the video. Thanks for stopping by the Soccer Tavern. Hope to see you again soon. Cheers!